Hello, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Reading Corner. I am Jackie, or Jack, as it says on the name of my channel. So I did try to make a video on Sunday. I didn't try. I actually did make a video on Sunday because I did do a little bit of a shopping splurge, but I was feeling really guilty about it, so it kind of affected my mood a little bit because I spent way too much money, and it made me nervous. So, but I worked extra hours on Saturday, and then I worked today and Monday, and then I'm working Thursday and Friday, so hopefully that will mean I'm not below. But I do keep track of my money because my mom has me keep a checkbook because I have, But the video was just me updating you guys on my reading, and I kind of was telling you about what I just told you about, how I spent way too much money that I shouldn't have been spending, and got some books. And then my mom, I did not realize, but Francesca's, a little boutique that I really like going to, is in that same shopping center as Books A Million, so we went in there. And of course it's boutique, so it is kind of pricey. So hopefully I got him I'm almost afraid to update my checkbook because I don't want to see how much money I spent, and just wait until I get a statement that says what paychecks I got recently. And the good news, we're getting bonuses this Thursday, so that should help my finances, hopefully. But I just need to learn to not get carried away. I just don't like using, when it comes to book-wise, I like to own the books. And then I don't like getting the books at the library, especially the ones that I'm really, really interested, because I don't get to keep them. I eventually have to return them within a 2-week period, unless, of course, I recheck them out. So that's my only issue with the library. I understand its value, and I definitely will defend it when people say, oh, libraries are not going to be, like Amazon, and, we'll stop libraries and stuff. And yes, we have things like Kindle and Nook, being the Barnes & Noble e-reader, but nothing compares to the going to a physical store, and then the feel of an actual book, whether you're borrowing it or you're owning it. You just actually bought it. But libraries have so much value, and it's not just about. And as I can't remember which booktuber talked about this, but it's not just about borrowing books to read for pleasure. You go there to study. You go to the library. You can't study online. You can't go to a physical place to study online unless you could physically transport your brain to somewhere else, have kind of a virtual study time. Which I think kind of cool idea. But your own personal room and your own home can be a distraction, so it's better to go to the library. And also, if you're working on something academic related, then you can get the resources. Yes, you could get them online, but then you essentially have to wait until they get here, and you're not just borrowing them, you're buying them. Maybe there is a system of borrowing stuff online and then returning it online, but like I said, the library isn't just about buying books to read for fun, It's so much more than that. So even though like I said, my only issue with the library is I don't get to keep the books. I like buying the books so I can take my time with them and I don't feel rushed. And as I've said in previous videos, yes, I am aware that I could just recheck them out, but then I still feel rushed because eventually I do have to return them, and I can't keep them forever. I can't keep them for a whole month, or, well, maybe I could, but either way, I still know that at some point I'm going to have to return them, and it just frustrates me. It gives me fear, over excessive worrying, because I'm feeling the pressure of, okay, I need to return this book. So I need to get it read, and I don't have to keep checking it out, especially when you get 5-10 books one time, then you want to at least be able to return at least one of those books, so you won't have to take all of them. Although when you return a book, you still feel, when I return the books, I still have to bring all the books with me so I can recheck them out. But either way, it's a good feeling when you finish a book that you borrow from the library and then you can return it and then you can go home with less books than what you borrowed. So basically I just don't like having to return them. I like actually owning the books, owning the physical copy, and I can read it when I want, and then I can reread it when I want, and take however much time I want, especially with the bigger books. I like to take my time with some of those bigger books, because I am a little bit of a slow reader, not like, there are people that I'm sure are much slower than me, but I'm definitely a slow reader compared to those people who can read like 10 books in a month. But as I've said this as well, that it's partly it's my own fault. I love TV and being on the internet as much as reading books. But my goal the last 2 years has been to change that and put reading at an equal footing, if not more, a higher priority. But actually today, though, my mom, our cable was starting to get really pricey. And my mom since I live at home, I don't pay the cable bill, my mom does. So we changed our cable, and now I don't have the internet. So this video actually will not be going up I don't know, hopefully it will go up by tomorrow or tonight. Because our appointment with the cable guy is not until, I guess if I'm doing the math right, 2.5 hours. He's coming at 4 basically, so. But, of course, although so far when we've made appointments with people that have to come to our house, they've come on time, or as close as possible to the time they said they would. Because back home, back in Maryland, sometimes when we made appointments where people were coming to the house to check out something, they didn't always come on time. They were sometimes a little late, weren't very considerate. So, so let me show you guys the books that I spent all that money on. Although really it wasn't like a whole lot, it wasn't like over 100 or anything. But that combined with what I got at Francesca's, which I'm not going to show you, not going to show you that because I don't know how to model my clothes on here. Not just because I'm awkward, but because I just don't know how to set it up so I can have separate footage combined with this footage to show, show off me modeling the clothes. So, and combine that with the fact that I would be very awkward. I don't model. My sister would be great at modeling, but she is great. She has modeled before. She did a little bit on the side. Okay, so first, let me show you this. Okay, so I was gonna buy the regular paperback edition of this book, but then I remembered there was a display table of books that were like really cheap. Not as cheap as Givens, but still cheap compared to what this would be, like a few dollars cheaper. Not a lot cheaper, but still. So I ended up getting it, and that is this one, the final book in the Seven Realms series. I got it for $5.97. But if this was a hardback, I would probably get it for like $13 or $14, I think, if I got a hardback. So I thought it was saved a little bit. And then I had the coupon too, so that saved a tiny bit as well. And then I'm a member of Books A Million. But I want to show you that one first because it's what I call a bookish sandwich. The first two books, the first and the last book. Oh, how do people do this? Because books are actually really heavy. My bookish sandwich. So my first book and the last book are both the same style of book. They're hardback. And then the middle ones are paperback. So I gotta read this soon, now that I have all 4 of them. That's what I like to do. I like to get all of the books in the series. And then the other 2 books, and this is probably what made it so expensive, this is the book that probably made it so expensive. So, I have the first book, which I haven't read, so I didn't, so, well, all these books are books from a series that I haven't even started, and my mom would probably tell me, you did not need to buy it, because you didn't even start the series, so what's the point of buying it? But I have this problem where I don't like to, when I get a book from a series, especially with the Books A Million here, it's a smaller one, so it doesn't always have the books from a series, especially if it's an older series. So I'm thinking my excuse, I could call it, is that, one of these books aren't here when next time I come here. I mean, so I probably could have saved myself, which is a really bad excuse, and I probably could have saved myself a lot of money, but there's no point. No point in crying over it. Just remember from, in the future. And I just gotta make sure I don't ever get to the point of really big consequences where I'm completely broke. That cannot happen. So, the first book is just called Dwarves. This is the second book, The War of the Dwarves. And I'm sure, as you can tell, obviously this is about dwarves. So I guess a lot of authors, well, although, most authors, fantasy authors are inspired by Tolkien, but I guess this guy and the guy who wrote the workbooks I bought were kind of inspired, and were like, okay, let's write about the characters that aren't the types of creatures in fantasy that aren't as common. Because everyone loves vampires and werewolves and elves and fairies and all those. Everyone writes about those. So I think these authors are thinking, well, let's write about some of the characters that are usually like the sidekicks, the side characters, the characters who do the dirty work, the characters that are just there because, we gotta include this type of race too. Not that Tolkien is thinking that, but you know what I mean. And then, also, I got the 3rd book in the Witcher series. And last time when I went there, they didn't have the book this size. They had the mass market paperback size. So my excuse for that one is, I gotta get the one that's the same size as the other ones. So this is the 3rd book. They have the very first book, The Last Wish. I have that in water on my shelf. The Last Wish is essentially it's a bunch of short stories about the main character in this whole overall series. And then I guess the second one is the novel, when the novels actually start, and then, which is sort of like The Last Wish, I think is a bunch of stories about the main character, kind of introducing the audience to the main character. And then Sword of Destiny is when the whole series actually starts. And then Blood of Elves is the second one, and then The Time of Contempt, Baptism of Fire, The Tower of Swallows, The Lady of the Lake, and then Season of Storms. This is the book series that the video game is based on. There's a video game called The Witcher video game. And I think it's this guy. I think he's kind of like a hunter. I think, if you're familiar with Supernatural. Except for it's another completely different world. Of course, it's not our world. And I'm probably, and I think I've said this before, I will probably never play the video games. I'm just not a video game person. And I mean, if I'm spending a lot of money on just buying like 3 books, imagine spending money on video games. I mean, I already have a cousin who does that, so I'm not gonna get into it. Besides the fact that, although someone has told me once that video games are good for dexterity, but I would rather just like if I happen to like if I end up dating a guy, if I ever dated a guy that likes video games, then that's when I'll play it. But I won't go spending my money for video games. If the guy that I fall in love with likes video games, then yeah, that's when I'll get into them. But I'm not gonna go spending my money. I'll just let him. He can spend his money, whoever he may be. But yeah, I basically been trying to get into more fantasy worlds, not just paranormal where there's magic in our world. And I also have been trying, as I've said in previous videos, I'm again trying to I feel like I'm deviating from the young adult. So, and I want to read like adult fantasy worlds more so than like young adult. I mean, I still love young adult. Like, Seven Realms is, I think it's considered, I don't know if it's middle grade or young adult, because it's in the middle grade section in the store. But when I first heard about it from Reagan from Peruse Projects, Cinda Williams' Chima, The Seven Realms, I assumed that it was young adult. Partly because I saw her other series, her second the series that comes after this one, which, that is so funny though, because that was years ago, before I even discovered BookTube, when my cousin Will, the one who plays the video games, I was trying to get him books because I thought he liked reading. I don't know, I think he's more into video games than actually reading books, although he did decide he wanted to read the book It, and that's a pretty big accomplishment if you can get that book read. So, but I actually bought him the other Cinda Williams Chima for the first book in her other series, something like The Air or something. I knew nothing about the author. I just stumbled upon it, read the back, and was like, oh, I think Will might like this. And I might like it too someday. So I got it for him not realizing. And then years later, I stumbled on BookTube, and then Reagan, one of her favorites is Cinda Williams Chima in her Seven Realms series, and then the other one, The Warrior Heir, that's what it's called, The Warrior Heir. That was the first book. So that's what I got. Okay, so what I tried to tell you guys about, I tried to film a video to share with you guys, but like I said, it was a crappy video because I was feeling crappy myself. So let me go and update you guys on my reading today. So I didn't read much. I went to work today and I didn't even read any of this at work because then I got distracted a little bit. And unfortunately, the problem is because I love watching TV so much, if the TV's on in the break room, unless it's the news, I'm going to easily be distracted by it, even if it's like that one of those cop procedural shows, I will still, like the Law and Order shows, CSI and all that, even if that's on TV, then I'll find myself staring and listening to it and kind of interested in it, even though it's normally not my thing. You know, it's just like, I don't know, it's like, if it's on, if you are used to watching TV and you like TV, and I guess maybe I'm one of the few people who does, but even if it's something that I'm just not into, if, like, I have to absolutely, totally dislike it, I have to, like, be not into it at all, I have to almost, not exactly hate it, because I feel hate is a very strong word, but just not be interested at all. And, you know, sometimes you're kind of curious about shows like, sometimes I do get a little curious and interested. Like, I will not, even with reality shows, as much as I don't like them, I will still sometimes get caught up in it, because it's like, it's so fascinating, even if you are just, like, rolling your eyes, you can't look away. It's like watching those reality shows in general, the ones with the people that are complete disaster and a little crazy. You can't help be like fascinated. It's like, oh my god, you know. I think that's what people like those shows where you videotape a criminal being chased after by a cop or something like that show Cops, because it's live. It's kind of like, it's like you can't, kind of thing, like you just can't help but you can't not look away. But anyway, so I didn't get anything done of this today so far. Well, I did I? Oh, no, I didn't read this one today. I was thinking about yesterday. I read a little bit of this yesterday when I got home. But I'm up to page 40, and I think I'm a little past the halfway point, which is good, because like I said, I want to get this done by June, as long as I keep reading and do not stop reading this book, and already it's starting to fall apart. Because I have no problem with breaking the spine. I'm not one of those people because I feel like a book should be, appreciated. And I think breaking the spine shows it's well loved. I mean, if you don't want to break a spine, then nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to criticize or judge you. And I'm not saying you love the book any less than me. I genuinely not. Just because I say that doesn't mean that I know, because sometimes sometimes when you say things, like, well, you said it, so you, deep down, you're just trying to justify and prove to people that, oh, I don't really mean it, but deep down you really do. I really do mean it when I say, if you break the spine, I personally they're not my books, so why would I care? But for me personally, I'm just reading the book and enjoying it. I'm not going to be careful, because to get really good, because sometimes when you read it, unless you put it like this, you're not gonna be able to see, like, the whole page. And then also, like, because I'm also worried about my posture when I read. Because I've been told at trivia night, one of the older gentlemen at trivia night sees that I love reading, and they're all like so impressed that I read. It's so funny that every time these people here, they see me at the pool, or I go to Harris Teeter and reading a book. It's almost like I feel like that's why I don't like taking out my phone during break, because I don't want to show my millennial, because I'm on the cusp of the millennial generation. And so it's like I don't want to show them. I always want to prove to them, like, see, look, I read books. I don't spend all my time on my phone just staring at the screen. I actually read a book. Of course, this comes from the girl who spends almost 4 hours on here watching you guys, or surfing the night on Facebook. But so I end up so it's like I'm trying to prove that I do, but then at the same time, it's like when people are so amazed that I love reading and they're all so impressed, and it's like, I'm not the only one. There are more than us than you think that actually do read physical books. It's not a lost art. There are people that read books. And then, of course, like I said, there's the whole issue of that they all think I'm a teenager. So they're even more impressed that I read a book, because my generation, my supposed teen generation, doesn't read books anymore. And it's like, no, that's not true. I mean, there are plenty. And in fact, that's why part of why it got me so excited when my cousin Mackenzie, she just turned 21, I believe. While she was talking about, she got into the Harry Potter series, and she's taking a class where they're studying the Harry Potter series, which I'm so jealous. I wish I had a class like that in college. I mean, the closest I came to that is like British and American literature, but even then we weren't reading like classics and older books. We weren't reading something like Harry Potter, because apparently that's not worth studying. But I feel, as my friend Tori from Facebook had pointed out, Harry Potter is considered a classic now. It's just a much younger classic. And I feel like we need to take a modern classics class on the actual modern classics, not just like the ones that came out, I'm saying like the 90s and onward. Maybe some of the 80s stuff, but the 90s and onward, especially with young adult. That's kind of when young adult started. Was in the 90s and the 2000s, like probably more the late 90s. Well, I guess if you count Harry Potter, so yeah, in the 90s, that's when young adult fiction, that category, started to become something. And I think we should study that. I think there should be class on that, because it is literature and it's worth studying and analyzing. Because these authors, they're not just writing stories for fun. Yes, YA has a lot of flaws in it, but there are so many things worth studying. They're all about like, unless you're talking about contemporary, they're about good versus evil, the issues of teens. And now a lot of authors are like Angie Thomas are writing about the issues that are very important in society. And unfortunately people are still experiencing those things like racism and bigotry and stuff like that. So, why don't you study like the book like The Hate You Give? I feel like you could study that, or Brandon Sanderson's. Like, it's not about society, but it is. Although this book does kind of look interesting. Like, I feel like some of the, like, there's, in this book, our main characters are at a city where they're trying to kind of take it over and stuff. And they're doing a really good, like, look at, politics. And I almost feel like this part in this world reminds me of 1984 a little bit, where our main characters are with the whole, like, how the guy that's in charge now is running things. It reminds me very much of 1984. I really think it would be interesting to take a class, a political kind of class, where you're studying politics and fantasy. Because a lot of fantasy books do include politics in a different way. So that's my rant about how I wish schools, did this kind of, studied these kinds of books. Like, schools don't feel they're academically acceptable, but who says? Have you read any of these books? Has the Board of Education read this stuff? Or are they too lazy? Like, oh, that's just for kids. Or, oh, that's just for, like, people that aren't, although maybe a small part of them is also thinking that, oh, the kids won't like this book anymore, so I don't want it to be an academically studied book. But anyway, yeah, so I was very excited when I found out Mackenzie was taking a class on Harry Potter. It's like, oh yeah, we can bond over books. I can introduce you to all these great books in these series. Like, I feel like she would be very entertained by Sarah J. Maas. Because I know that a lot of people say that she doesn't have a lot of diversity. But I feel like, but me personally, I feel like, yeah, I'm not saying she's a perfect writer. There is stuff she needs to work on. But if you just want to read it for fun, I would think my cousin would enjoy it. Okay, so enough talking about this book. So I am also currently, so the book I looked at this morning before I left for work at 9:30 shift is If We Were Villains. I've been reading this. Now I feel like with this book, yes, it's like The Secret History. Like a lot of people say, it's compared to The Secret History because you do have this young man who's kind of naive and impressionable, part of this group of people that are very flawed human beings. He kind of gets mixed. Our narrator in both this story and The Secret History, kind of, gets caught up in all this. Except for Richard from A Secret History does not get he was not in prison in the beginning of the book. Like our main character Oliver is in this book. And it's also like about these group of college age, because they're not kids, they're like my age, like a little bit younger than me, but still, they're closer to my age than teenagers. And they get, they're obsessed with this one particular topic they're passionate about this one thing. In the case of A Secret History, it was Greek class, Greek and all that kind of stuff. And then this one, it's about theater, particularly Shakespeare. And there is someone who gets one of their own gets murdered, just like, you know, in The Secret History. It's about them dealing with that. And in a way, like in both cases, the main character, well, although I think this guy deserved it more than the guy in the Secret History. But this is essentially but the difference, like I said, is this is more about Shakespeare and theater. Now, because it's about theater and Shakespeare, I definitely found it very engaging and interesting. But I can see where not everybody will appreciate that. And I think, and I agree that listening to an audio is definitely helpful, because, you know, you can hear the narrator do the Shakespeare lines and stuff. Whether it's a full cast or just one person, you know, I can see them reading the Shakespeare lines, and like reading out loud would be more interesting and have them mean more if you actually hear someone say the Shakespeare lines. But maybe, I don't know if everybody would appreciate this book. If you're not, I mean, maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe people would still enjoy the book. Maybe just knock it down to 5 stars if they thought some of the Shakespeare was too much. And the book is also kind of, what's really cool is it's also set up like a script. I mean, it's still in dialogue. I mean, it's still a regular novel, but it's like scene 6. And there's a prologue, which kind of it's like we are going back and forth between the present and the past. And so the prologue is kind of the present scenes where this detective is talking to our narrator, Oliver, about what really happened. Because he's starting to realize that maybe Oliver wasn't the murderer. Because it starts with him being in jail, being convicted of committing the murder. So I'm more than halfway, and it's just such an entertaining read. And I love reading about people that are a little pretentious and arrogant, and just how screwed up when they screw up and make mistakes. I love reading fiction about those kind of stories, like The Secret History. It's the same kind of deal in that sense. So I'm more than halfway, and it's really an easy read because the scenes aren't that long. The scenes are not that long, you know. So, I mean, some of them are a little longer than others, but it's a quick read. I'm more than halfway in this one. And I think what I'm going to do is when I'm done with this one, because the other book I'm currently reading, that is one of the oldest books next to A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, which I do not have over here with me, but I'm also reading A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, because I've had that since we moved here. But I figured I'd get through that one a lot faster than the other one that I've had that is a lot older than that. I've had a lot longer than that one. But A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, it's one of those coming of age stories. This young Jewish girl, her mom and dad, and her little brother, and it's about their lives growing up in New York. And she kind of tells about the story of her life, and kind of tells how her parents met, how they fell in love, and how things have kind of, as in her time at school, and like her first experience in school, and her taking care of her brother, and introducing us to the neighborhood she lives in, and about her favorite places to go. And it's like, I'm trying to think of another word other than coming of age, because I already said that. But it's basically the story of her life, and, you know, her growing up and stuff. And we all, like I said, as I started to say, we also kind of get how her parents met, how they fell in love. And we kind of learned that the mom, when she had, like, the mom is a very flawed person. Like, she kind of stole Francie, our main character's father didn't steal him from Francie, but when they were younger, she kind of stole the guy away from her best friend. And also, once her little brother, Francie's little brother, Neely, named Cornelius, is his actual name, was born, the mom admitted to herself that she will love the little boy more, and that her father and Francie can take care of Francie's father and Francie herself can take care of themselves. They don't need her love as much as this little baby boy does. And I'm thinking, really, you're gonna coddle him? I don't think that's such a good idea. And no, just because your daughter, maybe she had good intentions because she's trying to make her daughter strong. But I feel like you shouldn't love someone more than you love, your one child more than the other. To me, that's personally messed up. And as far as I know, my parents don't pick favorites between me and my sister. We sometimes joke about it, but my parents don't pick favorites. Not like both their mothers did. Both my dad and my mom's moms picked favorites. So I guess it's just that generation, maybe. I don't know, but anyway, and we're kind of like Francie has started school, and the school is very much. The school also picks favorites, and because she's Jewish and part of the group of people that are poor, the poor group, and is very, she's judged and not, and then, the teachers at the school take them on begrudgingly. And when the kids, before they entered school, they had to get vaccinations, and she and her brother, because they had believed that the vaccinations would be painful, and people were afraid of germs and all that. They were paranoid about the vaccination shots. So, of course, kids are all upset. So she's trying to make her brother feel better. And they make mud pies, literal mud pies, playing in the mud. And, excuse me. And she forgets to wash them up because they're late to leaving for their appointment. So the doctor, sees that they're all dirty, her arms are dirty, and he's like talking to, not realizing that Francie can speak English and understands English. She's not from a foreign country, Yes, her parents are, but she's been raised in America. So she's American, does not have broken English or anything like that. And the doctor and the nurse assume that she can't hear them, and they're talking like, oh, these girls are these kids are so disgusting and dirty, and why don't parents make them clean up? And I don't want to have to, give shots to dirty kids, but I have no choice. And she's like, and then when she gets her shot, she doesn't say anything, but then when it's her brother's turn, she's like, my brother is just as dirty as I am, okay? So you don't have, you don't have to judge him, kind of pre-warning them, and they're like, they did not realize that she could understand them. It's like, it kind of made me smile, that moment. But I've been reading that book in bed, but sometimes I do take it off I do sometimes read in my chair. And then I did read a little, like the other day, I read a little bit of Revival. I haven't read any, so I don't really have anything to say about that, but I'm going to continue reading that one soon. Read this one, that one, and I Capture the Castle. Read these two next, after I finish A Tree Grows in Brooklyn and If We Were Villains. After I finish this, I'll read those two. And then the one that I probably won't get done before June that I'm still reading is The Count of Monte Cristo. I have nothing to report on this one. I have not read much of this one, except for that Dante, like the priest has died after the priest has died, and Dante's found he's mourning the loss of his friend, but then he comes up with the idea that because they're going to bag the dead bodies and bury them in the cemetery, or just bury them, because they don't put them in the ground, put them in the cemetery, so he gets the idea of putting the priest's dead body in his cell, and then he will creep in the bag. He will hide in the bag. So he gets himself and stays in there, I think, all for most of the day. he's in the bag. Which, I mean, you gotta hand it to him. I cannot believe, it's like, he's staying in that bag the whole time. And then eventually he realizes that the cemetery is actually the water, throwing the bodies in the ocean. So he ends up tossing the ocean and sails to one of the islands. The Isle of Tiburon, I don't know how to say it. Tiboulin. If any of you speak French or know French, yes, I was right the first time. French pronunciations, please let me know. I don't know how to pronounce the name of the island. But he ends up swimming to that island, which is like over 1,000 leagues, I think he says. And he runs into and meets these smugglers. And kind of comes with a story of how he was on a ship that crashed on the island. And while he's with them, they're getting ready to, he's getting ready to tag along with them. They find the island on the Isle of Chateau d'If. They realized there's a prisoner missing. So they've alerted they've put off the alert. But of course, these smugglers don't realize that Edmond is the guy they're looking for. Edmond Dantes. So he's getting ready to travel with these guys. And I'm guessing these are the ones that teach him how to sword fight. Because in the movie, the priest was the one who taught him or at least not exactly. Actually, yeah. I think they actually did some actual sword fighting with, sticks. But, the priest did not teach him to sword fight, which actually, thinking about that makes more sense, because I don't think he would know how to sword fight. I don't see him being a sword fight, a fencer or anything. And so I'm guessing the smugglers are going to teach him how to sword fight. If that's included. I'm hoping it is. Because I love the idea. I love reading. I love to read. Because I've never read an actual scene, a sword fight scene. I've seen I love to see the training, sword fight training. So, and we've been introduced a little bit to young Capoe. What is it? Maybe it says, where is his name? Jacopo. Maybe it's Jacopo. I don't, Jacopo, where is it? I can't think. Jacopo. That's his name, Jacopo. I think. Unless you don't pronounce the J. So we've kind of been introduced a little bit to him. Who I remember. So that's an update on my reading. I don't know when this video is going to upload, when I'm going to upload this video, hopefully tonight. Which tonight being Tuesday night, so hopefully I'll upload it for tomorrow. But if not, then that's probably what I'll still be reading by Sunday. I hope all of you are enjoying your reading. I would love to hear what you are reading. Feel free to share in the comments below if you want to. If you like this video, be sure to give a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell icon below if you want to know when I'm going to upload videos. As I've said before, I'm probably not going to follow any more schedules anymore. But anyway, I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!